Hi, let's spend some time today to know about the Forbes method, which is actually a method to determine the absolute thermal conductivity of a good conductor. And to give you an idea, it's me, Dr. Yunus Jerusha, an assistant professor of physics. The original experiment was performed by James David Forbes in the year 1864. He determined the absolute thermal conductivity of an 8-foot long bar of wrought iron with a 1.25-inch square cross section using an earlier experimental design. It was supplemented by a second experiment in which a segment of the same bar provided with a thermometer was allowed to cool in air under the same conditions as the other experiment. His experimental results and discussion was recorded in the Transactions of the Royal Society of Edinburgh in the year 1864. Moving on to the description or the experimental setup for this method. We have a steam chamber which is provided with an inlet for steam as well as an outlet for the steam. It consists of a long metal rod HC of uniform area of cross section. One end of the rod is enclosed within the steam chamber and the other end is let free. A number of provisions are made in the rod at equal distances in which thermometers are inserted. A small quantity of mercury is poured in each provision to have a good thermal contact between the rod and the thermometers. The metal rod HC is heated till it reaches a steady state. That is, where the thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4 all indicate a constant but different values of temperature. The temperature measured at T1 is higher than the temperature measured in T2. Similarly, the temperatures measured in T3 and T4 are comparatively smaller. The distance or the position of the thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4 are measured from the origin at x equal to 0. There is a screen present at B to thermally insulate the portion of the rod BC from the rest of the experimental setup. In order to measure the thermal conductivity of this good conductor of heat, we need to recollect a few terms. The thermal conductivity is denoted by capital K, the area of cross section by capital A, the mass of the rod measured by small m, the density denoted by rho, and the specific heat capacity of the material of the rod is denoted by S. In order to find this thermal conductivity expression, we need to go ahead with a small derivation. Let us move on to that. The amount of heat flowing per second across B at a distance x from the hot end from H is given by Ka d theta by dx at B. The amount of heat which is lost per second by radiation from the rod from the point B to C is given by integral B to C ms d theta by dt, which is equal to integral B to C a dx rho s d theta by dt. In case you are wondering how a dx rho came there, we obtain it from the relation for mass, where mass is given by volume into density, and volume we know is area into distance, which is a dx, and density is denoted by rho. So on substitution for the mass in the expression, we have the amount of heat lost per second by radiation. At steady state, the heat flowing per second across B is equal to the heat lost per second from B to C. In other words, the amount of heat conducted per second at B must be equal to the amount of heat lost per second by radiation between B to C. We equate the earlier two expressions which we obtained. We cancel the common term on either side, which is A, the area of cross section, and on rearranging the terms we obtain the expression for thermal conductivity capital K to be rho s integral B to C d theta by dt dx divided by d theta by dx at B, with the unit for thermal conductivity being watt per meter per Kelvin. In this expression for thermal conductivity, we have to determine two terms, the integral value in the numerator as well as the value of the denominator term. We have this experiment therefore divided into two parts. We have a static part where we determine d theta by dx at B, and a dynamic part where we find the integral value of integral B to C d theta by dt dx. In order to perform the static experiment, the experimental setup is the same as was shown in the earlier slide. The rod is heated up to say 6 or 7 hours until the steady state is reached. The temperatures are indicated by the thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4 as theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4. Theta 1 is greater than theta 2, which is greater than theta 3, and theta 3 is greater than theta 4. The distance of the thermometers from the hot end is also noted as x1, x2, x3 and x4. The distance of the thermometers from the hot end are noted as x1, x2, x3 and x4. Similarly, the steady state temperatures of the thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4 are noted as theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4 respectively. These are plotted in the form of a graph where we have the distance of the thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4 plotted along the x-axis, and the steady state temperatures of the four thermometers are plotted along the y-axis. These give rise to the corresponding points which are shown in red, and a curve is obtained. The point B, which is there on the rod, is also marked on the graph for future reference. From point B on the x-axis, a perpendicular is drawn to the curve touching it at D. From the point D on the curve, a tangent is drawn and is extrapolated to the x-axis at point E. At point E, we have an angle alpha, and tan alpha gives us BD by BE, which is d theta by dx. A sample piece of the original rod of same area of cross section is heated until it reaches the temperature of the hot end H. Then the sample rod is fixed with a thermometer at the center of the rod and is allowed to cool. The fall in temperature is noted at regular intervals of time until it reaches a temperature below the temperature of the section B. A graph is drawn taking time along the x-axis and temperature along the y-axis. A curve is obtained and we mark the points along the curve where we have these temperatures theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4, which are the steady state temperatures of the thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4 respectively. Different tangents are drawn for the steady state temperatures which we obtain in the static experiment, denoted by theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4 from the four thermometers T1, T2, T3 and T4. The tangents are drawn as shown in the diagram. From these tangents, we obtain angles alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and alpha 4. We obtain tan alpha 1 to be d theta 1 by dt 1. Similarly, tan alpha 2 is given by d theta 2 by dt 2. Tan alpha 3 is given by d theta 3 by dt 3. And tan alpha 4 is given by d theta 4 divided by dt 4. These values are listed here. With the data just obtained, a third curve is plotted taking x from the hot end beyond the section B along the x-axis and the tan alpha values which we had just obtained along the y-axis. These tan alpha values are nothing but the rate of cooling at that corresponding distance beyond the section B in the static experiment. With these values, we obtain a graph in the form of a curve. From the curve, we find out what is the area under the curve between the points B and C. This area under the curve gives us integral B to C d theta by dt at dx. Substituting the values of the terms obtained from the static and the dynamic parts of the experiment, we obtain the final expression for the thermal conductivity K to be rho s into area of the shaded region divided by BD by BE with the units watt per meter per Kelvin. Some of the drawbacks of this method are it is time consuming, tedious, and there is a non-uniform heat distribution both in the static and in the dynamic part of the experiment, which can lead to inaccurate result. Thank you for your patient listening.